Hello guys, welcome to Valencia. We're here on the Triumph 400 launch. It's for the Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400X. And I really want to find out, are these going to be a global hit or are they just a little bit overhyped? So let's find out. So we had one day of riding today, 180-ish kilometers on both of these bikes. I set off on the Speed 400 with my eyes set on the Scrambler 400X. I initially was going to start, of course, riding the Speed thinking, yeah, this is a bike for me, but it did feel a little bit compact. They are the same bike, they have the same engine, the same capacity in terms of the fuel tank, but I just felt like the Speed was that little tiny bit too small for me. Not to say it was bad, I was happily riding on that all morning until lunch stop, but when I jumped on the Scrambler, it just felt that little bit nicer for me. It felt like the bars were a little bit wider, the wheelbase is a little bit longer thanks to a slightly different frame where the headstock is a bit further out, and that means that the rake can be a bit extended to accommodate the larger front wheel, and it just felt like I fit the bike a little bit nicer. So of course it's the TR series engine, 400cc, single cylinder, liquid cooled. I've got to say the radiator is quite sleek on there, it doesn't stick out by any means whatsoever, and in terms of power, it's 37.5 Newton meters of torque at around about 6,000 revs, and kicking in at around 8,000 revs is the peak power, and that's just about 39.5 brake horsepower. Something that I found really interesting was when you're sitting in, say, third, fourth, fifth gear, if you're cruising at 4,000 revs, it's still got pulling power, but then when you get to 6,000 and push up, it sort of enters a new life and it just pushes even more. Honestly, this thing really surprised on these roads because it just let me do everything I wanted to do. You can gently poodle around and just take it nice and easy. You can really put the hammer down and just push these bikes. And at no point was I thinking, oh, I wish I had a bit more power. In fact, I think if I had more power, I wouldn't even be using it anyway. So using these bikes, whether it's the city roads when we were leaving Valencia, or going into the really tight, twisty canyon bits, or even just the open roads where we were doing some nice flowing bits, these motors at no point were struggling, at no point were they really leaving me wanting more, if you know what I mean. They just were there the whole way. These bikes are so frugal that I was surprised to see, after 180 kilometers, we'd eaten like 2 bars of fuel. So you can get around about 80 miles per gallon. I'm usually quite dubious of the fact that they say 80 miles per gallon, but it seems like a very frugal engine. We were pushing these bikes all day and really just not worrying about full throttle action at any point, especially when you start getting to the 6,000, 8,000 revs. And it just felt like this bike was sipping at fuel the whole time. Frugal, tick in the box there. So moving to the brakes, they're bi-bree brakes on both of these, of course. The brake disc on the front, single for both the bikes, but it's a slightly larger one on the Scrambler. The bite point on the Speed in particular, because of the different paths they use, instant braking response. And if you really crank on the stopping power, you just come to a stop so quickly. ABS on both of them, of course, and it doesn't really feel like at any point the ABS wanted to intrude, but we were riding in really peak conditions. Of course, this is Spain. Beautiful riding, and the roads are incredible. But in any case, the braking power on both of these are fantastic. Perhaps that's to do with the fact that they're so light, 170 kilograms, 179 kilograms. So it could be the fact that they're really light, single disc is going to do the job. But in any case, I had no complaints whatsoever with the braking power. You've got Metzeler Cruise on the Scrambler, and then you've got some Metzeler Sportec on the Speed. Both tyres are exceptional. The Speed really, when the tyres warmed up, they felt so grippy. So when you did get some of those hairpin roads, because the twisty roads we were on were incredible, you felt like with that light weight, you could just throw the bike in and just conquer anything. It's beautiful. So speaking of tyres, 17-inch front and rear on this one. You've got a 17 rear here and a 19 on the front. And then moving to the suspension, you've got 43mm big piston forks, twin rate in both of the forks, so Scrambler and Speed share the same forks, and I had no complaints whatsoever. You can adjust the preload of a spanner on both of these, and I didn't really feel the need to be honest. I'm 6'3", I'm around about 14 stone, I think, but when I jumped on the Speed, I felt it really soft. The Scrambler's sort of soft as well, but when you're riding, that's really nice. It's actually quite accommodating for a taller rider for me. Seat height on this one's 795mm. This one's around 835, roughly. And as I say, the Scrambler is a little bit taller. It's got a little bit more travel in the suspension. I think 150mm to 130 on this one. And it's just a little bit bigger dimensions, longer wheelbase, bigger front wheel. The Scrambler just sort of edged it in terms of comfort. But in terms of the weight, distribution of weight, it was all just beautiful. It's an analog display. You've got an inlay LCD, and on there you've got your rev counter, you've got your trip 1, trip 2, your odometer, the time. You haven't got any Bluetooth functionality, but I don't think it needs it. Perhaps you could say that's a negative that you can't connect your phone, but that's not what these bikes are about by any case. And then you've got fuel, like fuel gauge and fuel remaining. Dash, really clear, really visible, and you've got the nice clear analog display. Really suits the bikes, really looks nice, beautiful. I would just throw in, these bikes do come with accessories. They're in dealerships now, so you've got about 25 accessories to pick from. I'm sure if you speak to your dealer, they can guide you through that. Or you can go on the configurator, because Triumph love the configurator, and I've spec'd up plenty of bikes on there, and it's a bit dangerous because you can add quite a lot to these bikes.
You'll also find the colour options there. The Speed 400 is offered in Carnival Red, as ridden, Caspian Blue or Phantom Black, and the Scrambler 400X is available in matte khaki green, as ridden, Carnival Red or a sleek Phantom Black. From brand new, you'll also get a 2-year unlimited mileage warranty and a big 10,000 mile or 12 monthly service interval.
The bikes are in dealerships now, and you can go and get a test ride, and they've got some options for you to just jump on a bike and ride and just try them out for yourself. Speaking to everyone that's ridden these today, everyone's got a smile on their face, everyone's enjoying it, and these bikes have really impressed me. Price point as well, fantastic. £5,000, £5,500, I don't think you can complain at all. The rivals, round about the same pricing, maybe these are a little bit cheaper, but you'll have to check out my review on the Lexham blog to find out how much the rivals are and how they compare in terms of spec.
So, what's the Scrambler 400X like off-road? Our route after lunch took us to a brief stint of trail riding for photos and videos, and it was a good opportunity to sample the differences between the Speed and this Scrambler. Naturally, to be ready for a bit of off-road, the Scrambler has a larger 19-inch front wheel with Metzeler Crew Street tyres, themselves a little bit narrower than the Speed, slightly longer travel in the forks, 150mm front and rear, and that provides a taller 835mm seat height and a larger overall stance. You do get a tad wider handlebar, and you get a larger headstock with a tweaked rake angle. And, crucially, off-road mode to switch off the ABS and traction control. It does then share everything else with the Speed, which, worth noting, you can switch the traction control off on that as well. And how does that translate into off-road riding? You can absolutely get the job done here, though you may want to stick to lighter trails. It's capable, but as a taller rider at 6'3", I found it just that bit too small and twitchy when stood up on the pegs on looser terrain. The 179kg weight and solid torque delivery does translate into good off-road potential, but I'd personally be looking at something just that tad bit larger to fit my lanky frame. The suspension worked well on the light trail that we rode, providing good absorption of the gentle bumps and terrain without getting out of hand. And the softer brake delivery did allow you to slow without suddenly locking the wheels, unless you want to. If you're after a more rounded, all-purpose built off-roader, you may want to look elsewhere, but there's no doubt in my mind that Triumph will be looking to put this same torque-rich TR series motor into an adventure/off-road frame. So perhaps we'll see a Tiger 400 on the cards in the future. And that's a bike I think would do extremely well. It would then take the fight straight to the Himalayan 450, and comparisons have been made between the Scrambler and Himalayan already. You can check my Tiger 900 review for a taste of what that could offer in a 400cc format.
So, to refer back to my initial question, are they going to be a global hit, or they're a little bit overhyped? And I'll just instantly say it, I actually think these are going to be a global hit. In terms of price, around the world, they're super, super affordable. I mean, £4,995 for this, just over £5,500 for this. What you get for your money is absolutely superb. So I think the gem in the crown, or the star of the show, is the TR series engine. Now that was an absolute work of art. Whether it's at low speed in town and just doing a few little bits, yeah, you have to worry about the throttle a little bit when you're opening in first and second gear, but you get used to that instantly, and it really doesn't take away from the fact that when you're working through the gears and getting to 6,000, 8,000 RPM, and really pushing the bikes on the twisties as we were all day long, these things just go to another level. It's incredible what this single cylinder motor can do. I mean, 39.5 brake horsepower, 37.5 Newton meters of torque. Torque kicks in at around 6,000-ish RPM. The power then peaks at around 8,000. You can still push and go to around 10,000 before it wants you and is begging you to shift up. But the engine really is the star of the show. Second to that is how lightweight and agile these bikes are. The 170 kilograms for the Speed, 179 roughly for the Scrambler, and that's with the 13-litre tanks full, as well as all the other bits. And when you're getting these into some pretty tight, twisty roads that we were on, these things never gave up. If the corner starts twisting in, sometimes on a bike you have a bit of a heartbeat and think, I really need to turn in. But this just felt like, oh, okay, I'll turn in a bit more. It just handled it supremely well. And the style and the build quality, just how sleek they look. I just point towards like the exhaust and it just looks like a straight through pipe, but underneath there you'll find the cat hidden underneath the engine. But from here, it just looks like a 1-into-2 exhaust. It's just beautiful. Of course, the build quality is there from Triumph. Of course, the torque and everything you relate from Triumph is there. That collaboration with Bajaj then brings in the sort of mass production elements as well as the affordability. Now, speaking to some of the Triumph guys on this launch today, basically everyone was looking at one of these bikes thinking, I'm an experienced rider and I need something that I just can poke around on, have a great laugh on. Or I'm looking at getting my license, I'm looking at getting an A2, maybe the full license, and I just want something that's really easy to ride, looks really nice, has that Triumph like stamp of approval. And I think these bikes really have then therefore hit that global audience. The Scrambler's good for light bits of off-roading. The Speed just has that elegance and style that you look for in the Speed family. So either of these would be a fantastic option for anyone, whether it's an A2 rider or up. So I think that basically answers that this will be a global hit. If you want to find out more, go to the Lexham Insurance website, you'll find my blog on there, and I've typed my way through a full review blog, and that goes into the spec in a bit more detail and a few more little crucial bits of information, as well as some comparisons against the big rivals. Until then, like the video, comment, say what you think about these Speeds or Scramblers and which one you'd go for, and of course subscribe to Bike Matters, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao.